Hey everyone, this is Khalil, and we are on the fourth day of 30-day American Accent Challenge. So let me open the fourth video of this
Good
challenge.
morning. I'm
Good
Christine
morning.
Dunbar from SpeechModification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. It's our 30-day accent challenge. Today is day 4. I hope you've enjoyed the first 3 days and had an opportunity to go to SpeechModification.com and check out some of the exercises that go along with this course. These lessons are designed to give you one thing to do each day so that by the end of 30 days, you see a significant improvement in your accent patterns. So, the last 2-3 days, we've been focusing on some intonation patterns and learning about American intonation, giving you some of the big picture for when you're speaking, how to know what types of intonation patterns to use. And today I'd like to shift and do some work on pronunciation. So today we're going to be talking about pronunciation and specifically about paying attention to the ends of words.
Were you born between 1980?
The reason that paying attention to the ends of words is very important, hi everybody, nice to see you, is that we tend to have a lot of accent error patterns that occur at the end of the word. This is important because in American English, we put a lot of grammatical information at the end of the word. If you think about it, our verb tenses, our possessives, our plurals, those are all created by adding sounds to the end of the word. And for non-native speakers, the ends of words can have a lot of error patterns when they're single sounds at the end of the word, and then when we're adding these extra sounds to make things plural, to make things certain verb tense, we're even more prone to errors there. So there are basically two main things that we do at the end of the word that are an accent error pattern. One is called omission. That's basically just leaving a sound off. So an example might be rather than saying hands with the ND and Z sounds, hands, I might say hand or hands. I might be missing that D, I might be missing that Z sound. That makes it hard to tell whether I'm talking about one hand or two hands. That's just one example. So omission means a sound is left off at the end of the word. In some languages, people who speak Mandarin as their native language, or particularly Vietnamese, some Spanish speakers, you may be leaving off just consonants at the ends of your words. Spanish words often end in a vowel sound, and so particularly with the D sound, the T sound on the ends of words, Spanish speakers speaking English may leave those sounds off. That makes it difficult for your listeners to understand what you're saying. So one pattern at the ends of words, leaving sounds off. And then another main pattern we see at the ends of words is called devoicing. And basically what that means is you're saying a sound at the end of the word that's different from the American sound. In American English, our consonants have two types. There's a voiced consonant and a voiceless consonant. And so when you're devoicing, you take a voiceless consonant, there should be a voiceless consonant on the end of the sound, on the end of the word, and you're saying it with the voiceless rather than the voiced. So let me explain a little bit what voiceless and voiced sounds are so you understand what I'm talking about. So a voiced sound means that my voice is on. Vowels are voiced. When I say ah, I can feel vibration. My vocal folds are vibrating. It's a voiced sound. Some of the consonants are voiced as well. When I say Z, zzz, I can feel my throat vibrates. That's a voiced sound. I suggest you try it. Put your hand on your throat, feel where your vocal folds are, zzz, and you can feel that sound is vibrating. When I say the S sound, there's no vibration here. So Z and S, I'm not doing anything different with how I'm making my mouth. They're articulated in exactly the same manner in the mouth. My tongue's in the same place, my lips are in the same place, my jaw's in the same place. S, Z. The only thing that changes is that I turn my voice on when I say Z. So try that with me. Say S. You shouldn't feel any vibration there. S. That's the sound that S makes. Z, z. That's the sound that actually S also makes. That's the sound that Z makes, but frequently in English, the letter S actually is a voiced sound. It actually says Z. So this is one reason why we have this error pattern, that many words in English end in the letter S, but the sound Z. For example, was, is, does, these. All of these words have an S that actually says Z. So that may be one reason you have the error pattern on this. Another reason is that frequently, if we don't have a certain type of sound in a certain word position in our native language, so if your language doesn't have voiced sounds at the ends of words, you'll be likely to use a voiceless sound instead of a voiced sound at the end of the word. So S and Z, that's one pair of voiceless and voiced sounds. Some others are P and B, p, p, voiceless, and B, 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 voiced. K and G, k, k, voiceless, g, g, voiced. So some examples of words where the only difference is between a voiced and a voiced sound are, for example, S and Z, sip has voiceless, zip has voiced. Or more importantly, at the end of the word, because we're talking about word endings today, the word his, that's voiced, the S says Z, his. The word hiss, that's voiceless, the S says S. So when you're saying his, it might sound a little more like hiss instead of his. Or was might sound more like was. For some examples with K and G, the K sound or the C sound is k, k, cave and gave. Or at the end of the word, pick and pig. So you might be trying to say pig and it sounds like pick, or big sounds like bick. Some other errors you might hear from this devoicing error, you're trying to say had might sound like hat, web might sound like wep, bag might sound like back. There are more examples of voicing and voiceless sounds and a more detailed explanation on my website. Go to speechmodification.com, free resources, free online practice, and you can go to day 4, that's today, of the 30-day accent challenge. And there I have a lot of links for you. So a link about voicing, a link about knowing when S says S and when S says Z, and some practice. And we're gonna get into the practice now. Today I wanted to give you a lot of resources, but really our focus is on the ends of words and pronunciation. So what to do about this error pattern? What's the assignment? What can you do to fix this problem with the ends of words? First of all, we're gonna start small. As with anything in American accent training, it's really helpful to choose one small goal and work on that until you really understand it and can make a change in your speech, and then move forward with additional work on the same idea. So what I suggest you start with is starting with the letter S and the sound Z. This is important because it affects plurals, third person present tense verbs, possessives. All of these have the Z at the end of the word, and you are likely saying an S sound instead of a Z sound. Most of the time on the ends of words, S says Z. It's more frequently that it says Z than it says S. And as I said, you can read those rules there on my website. Learn about how to know when S says S and when S says Z. And you can practice some common words that end with the Z sound. So we'll do a little bit of practice together. And here are the steps that you want to do. First of all, start to identify and learn which words say Z. And then practice those words, especially the most frequently used words in English. So here are 6 of those words. Try the word is. Okay, notice it had Z voice sound, is. You can put your hand on your throat if that helps. Try the word was. Has. Does. These. Those. You may find it difficult to say those Z sounds on the ends of words. It sometimes is actually easier to say 2 words. So for example, you could say, is it? Then that Z sound kind of goes onto the word it. We link is and it. Is it? It's almost like, is it? It tends to be easier for people to put voicing on in those cases. Was I? Was it? Does it? Has it? So if you're finding it difficult to use a voice sound on the words by themselves, try those short two-word phrases. Okay, so working on words. Next, you're going to work on two-word phrases. For example, is it? It is. Was I? I was. Does it? It does. I'm trying to listen as I speak and make sure that I hear that Z sound. Just like we talked about in day one, this is a great opportunity to record yourself as well. Sometimes when we're talking, when we're live, we can't really hear how we're pronouncing things. And if we listen to a recording of ourselves, it becomes much clearer whether we're making our accent error pattern or using our new voiced Z sound at the ends of words. After you're very confident and comfortable using your Z sound when you're practicing on words and two-word phrases, then it's time to do repeated phrase practice. And I have a number of videos talking about repeated phrase practice. Basically what it is something that's easier than using patterns all the time in everyday speech. That's kind of hard to remember, hard to implement. So we need to take some steps between practicing words and being able to speak all the time. And so this is one of those steps in between. Basically, you're going to take one of these common words and you're going to make up your own phrases with it. So for example, an easy one to use is the word those. I'm going to try saying those and another word for as many things as I can think of. So those people, those texts, those emails, those computers, those things. I'm just thinking of things off the top of my head. That means my brain is busy thinking of what to say and it can't focus as much on using that final Z sound. It helps me build that.
Those are my books. Um, those were my chocolates. Um, those cars are red.
Out as a habit in my everyday speech. Um, the other thing to look at is to begin to notice plurals of words. Are you using a Z sound on the end of your plurals? You can also read on my website which plurals say S and which plurals say Z and what the rules are for that, and I suggest that. So, your assignment for today, go to the website, take this final Z sound and start identifying where it is, start practicing it in words, two-word phrases, repeated words, and take it small, just do a little bit and start to notice those common words that have the Z sound. Also, in my online classes, you can follow these steps for Final Z and for all of the sounds of English that you may have accent patterns on. I suggest trying those out on my website. You can get a free trial of any of my online classes or take my free mini course. In those courses, you can also download MP3 files for practice. So they have good models of American English that you can listen to and repeat. A lot of my clients use those in their car when they're driving to work, or they put it on their phone, on their headphones, and they're sitting on the bus. They can listen and get that good modeling for those sounds. So check that out. I'm having a New Year's special right now. You can get 1 month of the online course for under $2. So it's a great way to try it out, see if it's useful for you. Tomorrow we'll have day 5 of the American.
Okay, so let's see. Plurals says Z, plurals S says S. States, students, groups, parts, weeks, governments, nights, points, facts, and words ending in voiced sounds like B, D, G, V, R, W, M, N, N, G, I, vowels. For these plural, for these plurals, pronounce Z. Got it. Times, years, ways, days, things, lives, worlds, schools, families, countries, problems, hands, companies, systems, programs, questions, numbers, homes. I was, I think, pronouncing it in a wrong way, but now I am correcting it. Questions, numbers, homes, rooms, mothers, areas, stories, studies, eyes, jobs, words, heads, friends. Now the words ending in SZ, SH, CH are add es and pronounce extra syllable ez. Okay, places, 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 places. Okay, cases, businesses, houses, services, faces, offices, changes. Okay, so that was it for today's practice, and we'll meet in the next challenge, the 30-day accent challenge. I'll meet you in the next video. See you and have a fun day.